Alright, so we got done creating our default template in the previous training session, and so now I'm going to log in and I'm going to create a return. So I did a couple things in the last demo. Was I logged in with admin, I set up my default template, and I created a user who can create tax returns. Because remember, with admin, the admin ID that you were sent via email, that's just for administrative stuff. You then got to create one additional user who can create tax returns. So I did that by clicking Manage Users, and we created a new user. I clicked Create New User, created a user who had a return preparer, and I also gave him some additional admin rights. And so now we're going to log out and log in with that user. It's the same client ID. You're going to enter the same client ID for everything. This guy's name was Bobby, and his password is going to be his username. So if you set up the username with a capital B, you also need to put his password in with a capital B because it is case sensitive. His password will be his username. The first time Bobby logs in, Bobby is his password. So I type Bobby as the password with a capital B, B-O-B-B-Y, log in, and it prompts me change the password. So first time you log in, you got to change your password. So I will log in here. I'm going to write this down. And then I got to enter it again. And I click change password. And again, they don't match. Not very good at this, apparently, coming up with passwords on the fly. Okay, that should work. Alright, password has been changed. I click continue. Enter my security question. It can be the same security question. Okay, and we're in. Now, this screen looks identical to your admin screen, home page. The one thing that it has that admin did not is this new return button. So that's the major difference with return preparer is, hey, now I've got a new return. We also gave this guy admin rights, so he's going to be able to do some advanced stuff, but it's this new return button that we're looking for. So he's a return preparer, he's got new return. So I click new return. I've got a client sitting in front of me. We've already set up our defaults. So everything's going to auto load as far as our prices and stuff like that. So I'm going to click new return. I'm going to enter their social. Okay, and then I'm going to write it down because I've got to re-enter it. 487-63-9876. And then I've got two options. I can either go right into the tax forms or I can go into interview, which is what I recommend. Even if you're really familiar, really savvy, it's honestly a little quicker. This is a very quick, really nice interview. The nice thing about TaxWise is you don't have to know all the forms. The interview will load the forms that you need. So I go into interview. Always recommend you do that. Okay, and we're going to whip through this one. We're going to say that they are single. Click next. Their name. date of birth, occupation. They didn't die, so I leave that blank. Email address. Was the earned income tax credit ever previously disallowed? We're going to mark that as no. Click next. Location, United States, click next. And you can see I'm moving down these lists of questions on the left. We're at address right now. So we'll put in their address. City and state auto-populate. And then we're going to enter their phone numbers, daytime and evening phone numbers. And it can be the same number. I recommend you go ahead and enter both numbers because I believe it is required once we get to the forms mode. So enter, even if it's the same number, enter both fields. Click next. Special processing, armed force member, we're going to say no and we're going to click next. Do they want to contribute to the presidential election fund? Can they be claimed as a dependent on somebody's return? Are they blind, disabled? No, no, no. Next. Dependents, we're going to say no. If they did have dependents, you'd mark yes, and then it's going to load a bunch of extra questions where you would enter the names and the socials of the dependents and then ask you some EIC type questions, some follow-up questions on the interview. But we're going to say no. Click next. Types of income. This is really handy. This is how you're going to enter all their income. W-2, that's common. So we're going to add a W-2. If they had unemployment, you can add that. Maybe they collected Social Security, you can add that. You can add more than one W-2. Maybe they had a couple W-2s, maybe 3 W-2s. If they owned a business 1099 miscellaneous, you would select that. And then some of the smaller forms of income are up at the top, like alimony income or rental income. We're just going to keep it simple. I'm going to delete these by clicking the X. One W-2 in the amount of $24,526. Taxable tax amount, I'm looking at their W-2, $2,354. And then here's the tax ID on the sheet. Okay, and I'm going to click next. Assets, you ask them, hey, do you have any rental properties? Do you have a personal residence? Stocks, bonds. Click next. We're going to say no. You would check mark each one as applicable. And then it's either going to ask you some follow-up questions, or once we get to forms, it's going to load the appropriate form. And you ask them about adjustments. Did you have any contributions to these retirement plans? Did you pay any alimony? Did you contribute to an HSA? That sort of thing. So we're going to click next there. Deductions, charitable contributions, home mortgage interest, union dues. Extra questions, click next. And then, do you need to prepare one or more state returns? We're going to mark that as no. We'll probably have another training video where we show you how to add a state return. You would mark yes if you're in a state with the state return, and then you would pick your state or states. We'll mark that as no and click next. Thank you for using TaxWise. Click finish. And now we're at the meat and potatoes of TaxWise. So it's going to load all the forms that we want on the left. You can see all the applicable forms based on the answers to the questions that we asked them are loaded now on the left. So you don't even have to think about what forms you need. And then the form that you have selected is on the right here. If the form has missing required information, it's gonna be highlighted in red, and there's gonna be an exclamation mark off to the side. If the form is good to go, like 1040 page 2, it's green. So as soon as you fill out all the required fields on any given form, it turns green. The red forms are what you really need to pay attention to, and then find the required fields within the form, which I'll show you how to do that here in a second. So we'll go ahead and we'll begin working on this return.